White-Faced Mountain in Wilmington, New York. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Coming up this week, how Primoz Roglic and Jumbo-Visma went from cycling's biggest winners to cycling's biggest losers, but why they should also be able to hold their heads up high and be proud.
Yeah. We're also going to take a look at how oranges could be the next big performance enhancers and how sleep deprivation is not as bad for you as you might have thought, according to science.
Yeah, I disagree, mate, if I'm honest.
I hope it's true. This week in the world of cycling, we learnt that replenishing fluids whilst cycling is vitally important.
Oh, that was gross. Did he do what I think he did?
Yes,
Mark
he did.
Cavendish losing not just liquids, but also some solids there before quickly replenishing them again. Now, we also learned this week that the curse of GCN may well have lifted, or at least certainly for Dan.
Oh, I didn't want you to mention this, Si, did I? But yes, I correctly predicted this year's Tour de France winner for the first time ever, I think.
Ever.
Tadej Pogacar, and mightily pleased I am about it too. Although Ollie was, standard GCN really, wasn't it? This was his prediction.
Who are you going for? Thibaut Pinot. Heart or head? Oh, do you know, it's a bit of head and heart. Bit of both.
Yes, standard, like you say. And also Manon, unfortunately, predicting Annemiek van Vleuten at the Giro Rosa. Van Vleuten, who unfortunately now is nursing a broken wrist. So, yeah. Sorry about that, Annemiek.
Also this week, or in fact last week, we learnt that Si Richardson doesn't really understand chemistry. And actually that I don't either, otherwise I wouldn't have gone along with everything he'd written without calling it out as false.
Yes, apologies to all you chemists out there for that. Some of you were traumatised at what you witnessed. You say it was news to you. There's several chemistry teachers out there, Dan, for whom it was definitely not new news. They knew 20 years ago. But anyway, there we go. We'll leave it there.
The comments were going wild with geekery, weren't they, underneath last week's show.
Ollie was also going wild as well.
Yeah, Ollie's not talking to Si. He can't believe he's associated with Si on GCN. Anyway, the big point this week, as Si mentioned in the introduction, is the fact that Jumbo-Visma went from cycling's biggest winners to its biggest losers in the space of about an hour.
Yeah, so they were almost about to have the perfect 3 weeks, weren't they? But then there was just this 37-kilometre long individual time trial. For a few fleeting moments, it looked like, though, they still might crown the perfect 3 weeks, didn't they? They had Wout van Aert setting the best time. Tom Dumoulin, his teammate, of course, just pipped him. So we had 1 and 2, and then, well,
just left Primoz Roglic to finish off the job. The man who has looked virtually invincible since racing resumed, the man who possesses an incredible time trial, just had to do what he does best. I mean, it's basically a done deal, wasn't it? Everyone thought that. You know, riders, managers, pundits, bookmakers, cycling fans, until it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think I was the only one to be watching that and have to pick my jaw up off the floor as we witnessed those virtual GC times going from green to red as the cameras were following Roglic. And you could see that he was not the same rider that we've been watching for the rest of the race. Like, he looked a little bit laboured, his cadence was off, he kept getting out of the saddle. Whereas in contrast, Pogacar was just romping up that final climb, faster than any rider has ever gone up it in history, even despite doing a bike change.
I don't think there was much anybody could do about Pogacar that day, was it? And now anyone that's watching GCN over the last few weeks will know that I'm quite a big fan of Tadej Pogacar. I just love his attacking style, his lack of fear, just generally the way he races. That said, I felt incredibly sorry for Primoz Roglic and his team Jumbo-Visma. I mean, it was hard enough watching Van Aert and Dumoulin on the finish line, watching on in astonishment as they saw the race slipping from their hands. It was even harder after Primoz Roglic crossed the line to see his face shedding a few tears of disappointment. But you know what? The way he conducted himself after that stage, and I mean immediately afterwards, has really endeared him to me a lot more than I felt like that before.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, in possibly the lowest moment of his professional career, almost undoubtedly the lowest moment, he then got straight back up and went over and congratulated Tadej Pogacar, which is which is remarkable, isn't it?
It was, yeah.
A real sign of the man.
Yeah, he did exactly the same, didn't he, the following morning
He did,
on stage 21. Now, I've been looking back at what Jumbo-Visma have achieved over the 3 weeks, and pretty much any team in the history of the sport would have been incredibly proud of it, wouldn't they? 3 stage wins, they finished 2nd, 7th overall, plus a further 2 riders inside the top 20. They spent 11 days in the yellow jersey, and that's not to mention what they did before the Tour de France, such as winning things like Strada Bianca or Milano-San Remo. However, of all the 22 teams taking part of the Tour this year, they're probably going to be the ones that are most disappointed.
Yeah, and that's cruel, isn't it? Really cruel. But you've got to hope that when the dust settles, they can realise that actually the way they rode is something that they can be incredibly proud of.
I must say that I sincerely hope that Roglic is able to pick himself back up from this and get back to the top with the help and support of his team and teammates. Because I reckon that what's weighing most heavily on his mind right now is not his own personal loss over this last 3 weeks, but the fact that he had a team of world-class cyclists more than capable of getting their own results, who sacrificed almost all of their own chances for his chance at winning the Tour de France. The question is, can he get back?
Wow. I mean, cycling is littered with storylines a little bit like this one, aren't there? And so we've got precedent. Some people can, some people can't. Simon Yates, for example, do you remember the Giro d'Italia in 2018, where he was looking amazing, had led it for days and days and days, and then cracked on the penultimate mountain stage, and then ended up dropping outside the top 20. Questions were asked of him at the time, but he bounced back and then went on to win the Vuelta a España just a couple of months later.
He did, yeah. Although you then have examples such as Joaquim Rodriguez, very close to winning the Vuelta one year before a last-minute ambush by Contador, was leading the Giro d'Italia in 2012 on the final day, only to lose it on that final day's time trial to Ryder Hesjedal. And actually, he never won a Grand Tour in his career, did he?
He didn't. Stephen Kruijswijk, another name that springs to mind, again from the Giro d'Italia. He was having the race of his life, wasn't he? Remember?
Yeah.
Looked like he was odds on to win, and then crashed into a snowbank. And that was it. Game over. And he hasn't yet been able to put himself back in that winning position since, has he?
No. So perhaps he is the person best placed as a teammate of Roglic to offer him some support and advice at this point in time. So I guess the same goes for Tom Dumoulin, doesn't it? Because if you remember 2015 at the Vuelta a España, I mean, he didn't go into that race with any expectations, but he was leading it for the vast majority of those 3 weeks, and again, just lost it on the last mountain stage.
Yeah, you see, I don't think it is the same. There's something particularly cruel. Maybe it's the time trial thing. So Rodriguez and then Roglic now, it's watching them alone coming up that finishing straight, just being able to see almost what they're thinking as they come up the line, knowing that they've already lost the biggest race of their careers. I mean, it's spectacular, but cruel. I mean, sport's just amazing, isn't it? What a privilege to watch that.
Particularly cycling. It was brilliant, wasn't it? You know, as much as I was hugely disappointed to see Roglic lose and the disappointment of his Jumbo-Visma teammates, it was spectacular to watch that race, wasn't it? I don't think I'm ever going to forget where I was when I saw La Planche de Belleville in 2020. Well, that's partly because I was in here, actually, with Sean the King Kelly, watching on the TV behind you.
Name drop. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess, the biggest winners are us, aren't we? The fans.
Exactly. It was great to watch, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And sport is cruel, as we well know, Dan, because, well, we lost virtually every single time we picked the number one to go to a bike race. But then sometimes being a serial loser is probably not quite so bad as having the biggest win possible in the sport snatched out of your grasp at the last moment.
I think there is something slightly different about losing a race when there's almost no possibility of winning it versus having it snatched, like you said.
Let it be said, if someone said to me now, would I like to be in Primoz Roglic's position today, or my position, having never won or even ridden the Tour de France, I would choose to lose the Tour de France.
Would you like, Si, to have won 2 stages and become second overall at this year's Tour de France? Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Yes, no, I'd take that for sure. Yeah.
Right, well, as ever, we would like to throw this out to you and ask you whether you think Primoz Roglic can bounce back and one day win the Tour de France. You'll find a link on your screen right now that will take you over to a poll on the GCN app where you can vote yes or no, and you can discuss this in the comment section below. Next up, GCN's Inspiration.
Maybe Roglic could watch this. That would help.
Yes. Pick himself up off the floor and come back and watch this. Right, this is the moment in the show, of course, where we pick our 3 favourite photos that you have submitted to the GCN app. Each one will receive a prize, and third prize this week is a 1/4 kilo of ground coffee. And that prize goes to Koppenberger.
Nice. Look at that photo. To be fair, Primoz Roglic might not want to look at another mountain pass for a while, but still, there we go. That's actually in Switzerland. He says, riding up the Grimsel Pass with the mates and enjoying the view of the mountain lake up there. From there onto the Furka Pass and the Susten Pass. Stunning scenery. It is incredible. You know, I've never ridden Swiss roads like that before. I don't think I've ever been there before. Yeah. Weird that, isn't it? No. I mean, I have ridden my bike in Switzerland many times, but I've never ridden those classic climbs.
I've not done loads there. I think I might have done... I can't even remember what I've done in Switzerland.
You'd remember that if you rode that. Maybe one for 2021.
I once went there skiing with Fabian Cancellara in a documentary that you've not seen yet, but keep your eyes peeled for that. You might have seen me coming off the skis a few times. But anyway, we'll move on to second place this week, who was going to receive 2 t-shirts, GCN Core White and GCN Core Blue.
I'm wearing that Core Blue t-shirt right now, and I was supposed to be wearing it all show. Cold, and I forgot.
You forgot to take
so apologies for that.
Anyway, wearing it shortly will be Swiss Cycling Gym. Never too early for the next generation. My friend Alain and his son riding up the Col de la Croix between Les Diablerets and Le Villard in Switzerland. Both made it to the top of the 8K climb, and only one of them needed a tow behind his mum on her e-bike.
I'm guessing that was Alan that needed a tow.
I expect so, yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic photo. I love the World Championships top.
Yeah, that's super cool.
You're not supposed to wear rainbow stripes, are you? I think in a previous show we talked about the fact it's absolutely fine to wear whatever you want, trade team kit, just not World Championship stripes. But that only goes for over 18s.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you can get away with that.
If you're a kid, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Right then, that leaves just first place. And this week, winning a core black t-shirt and a classic zip hoodie in black and white, plus actually a baseball cap as well. It's like a full outfit, a full ensemble. We have this amazing photo sent in by Alistair Sutherland, the Colle della Nivolette, where the Italian Job was filmed, actually. Look at that photo. Isn't that just utterly incredible?
It is stunning. But yes, maybe not the best week of inspiration for Primoz Roglic. Full of mountains, isn't it? Which, like you said, I'm sure he wants to turn his back on.
There'd be something very healing, I think, about, because he's still going to have good form, isn't he? Let's face it, he's still quite a fit bloke. Riding on your own up a mountain like that, just you and the gradient and the elements, and you can just get it all out, get to the top and be like, you know what? That's it, done. On to the next one.
You know, what I like and find most inspiring about this last photo and the winner this week is the fact that the rider in it is going down it. That looks brilliant fun to me. Anyway, don't forget to get involved ready for next week's show. As ever, all you need to do is upload your best photos involving cycling to the GCN app.
It's now time for Cycling Shorts.
Cycling shorts now. I'm going to start with the news that almost unbelievably, with Tadej Pogacar's late charge for the yellow jersey, his victory was also the first victory for legendary bike brand Colnago. Yes, would you believe it? Having won virtually every single major bike race on the planet under both men and women, the Tour de France had always eluded Colnago.
I had no idea about that until Saturday when I saw it on the internet. Unbelievable. Anyway, here is a picture of Ernesto Colnago himself with that brand new yellow frame. They had to spray it very quickly, of course, at the factory in Italy, and it had to be quickly transported up to Paris, ready for the final stage. And doesn't he look chuffed to bits with his new frame there, Ernesto?
Yeah, well, racing is a serious business for Ernesto. He did come close with Michael Rasmussen in 2008, got as far as spraying up a yellow bike, but obviously Rasmussen got busted, so that never saw the light of day. But Ernesto had actually had Colnago bikes win the Tour de France before, just not with his name on, because he used to build frames for Eddie Merckx, but then they had to get resprayed and rebadged with his team name.
Amazing that, isn't it? I wonder if was Merckx the last rider to race on a frame that had his own name on it? Who knows?
I think Le Monde, probably.
Did he race on his own frame, does he? Anyway, let us know in the comments section down below.
Yeah.
Now, whilst it was the first ever victory at the Tour de France for Colnago bikes, it was actually the 41st victory at that race for a Campagnola group set.
Yeah, that's some record, that, isn't it? A super record, some might say.
Very good.
Thank you very much, yeah. Now, anyway, moving on to more serious matters. The Tour de France is not known for its diversity, not by a long shot. And this year, as with almost all years, there was just one black rider in the peloton, B&B Hotels Vital Concepts' Kevin Retzer of France.
There was a small gesture from the pro peloton, albeit a fairly small one, that came on the last day going into Paris. So on the run into Paris, Retzer was seen riding on the front with the jersey wearers, and many of the riders at the start were wearing the masks with the words "No to Racism" written on them.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, Orla Chenery caught up with Kevin Retzer on the breakaway after stage 19, which you can find over on GCN's Race Pass, of course. But here is a little clip.
Mes histoires personnelles qui vont changer grand-chose, malheureusement. Comme j'ai dit précédemment, j'attends rien de personne. Voilà, maintenant, à l'heure d'aujourd'hui, j'espère que tous ces actes-là vont être punis et très gravement. Mais j'attends pas qu'il y ait une révolte dans le peloton parce que je sais que...
It was a powerful interview, that one, and as I said, you can see it over on the breakaway, or there is a written article about it on Eurosport.com, and we'll link to that in the description down below. Moving on now, though, to Cycling Science's Twitter feed, which has been on fire over the last week or so, hasn't it? And this study in particular leapt out at me. Fancy a boost in cycling performance?
Yes.
Of course you do. All you need to do is eat a truckload of oranges, apparently.
Yeah, well, almost. So if you supplement your diet for 8 weeks with 2S-hesperidin, which is a flavonoid, apparently, found in high concentrations in citrus fruits, this study showed that you can get a 3.2% boost in FTP, not to be sniffed at, and also a 2% boost in max power. And the study was a double-blind study on 40 amateur cyclists. So pretty solid, you'd think?
Yeah. We should make you aware, though, that this study was conducted by Francisco Martinez at the Murcia University, and it's not yet been peer-reviewed.
Not yet.
No, so a bit like Si's questionable, i.e. wrong science from last week. Take it with a pinch of salt, or at least keep your eye on the comments below for proper scientists.
Yeah, well, speak for yourself, Dan. I think it sounds great, and I need all the help I can get. So I've already had 4 oranges this morning searching for that little boost. Now, this next bit of research is it's a bit of a snooze fest, actually.
And so why are we including it in the GCN show, Si?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Dan, because actually it's our first bit of cycling science from the Journal of Sleep and Breathing. Oh yes, what a journal. Anyway, so this was an investigation into the effects of sleep deprivation, and it showed from just 2 case studies, a skier and also a Race Across America competitor, that actually what we might previously have thought about the negative effects of sleep deprivation weren't true. Particularly the Race Across America competitor, who got 8 hours sleep in total in 8.5 days, and yet was still functioning at the end. So there we go.
I think they might need to conduct this same experiment on parents of newborn babies.
Yes.
I think that they might beg to differ on this particular
GCN
one.
presenters as well, quite frankly.
True. Right, moving on to the transfer rumour mill, and it appears as though another one of cycling's wonder kids might be making the step up to the World Tour next year. Most of you will have heard of Tom Pidcock because he's been lighting up cyclocross road and time trials in junior, under 23 and the senior category at last year's World Cyclocross Championships, wasn't he? Apparently, next year, he will be riding for Ineos Grenadiers.
A great signing for them, and you'd also think they'd be breathing a sigh of relief. They need all the help they can get at the moment, don't they?
Yeah. Carapaz didn't even get the polka dots, did he, because of Pogacar's performance on the Planche de Belfi.
Poor bloke. Right, some breaking news now. Literally news just in. A man called Alan Colville, who you might remember we mentioned on this show a few weeks back for doing a double Everesting on my least favourite climb in the entire world, Draycott Hill, has just set a new world record for the greatest number of metres climbed on a bicycle in 48 hours. Wait for it. 29,700 metres. So yes, more than a triple Everesting in one hit. Unbelievable, isn't it?
About what they did in the whole Tour de France, wasn't it? He did tell us, wasn't it, that was training for something even more bonkers to come in the future, and that was what it was.
There we go.
He was right.
Yeah, have a go at that, Phil Gaiman, hey?
Right, we'll round off Cycling Shorts now with some very interesting industry news, and it comes from Zwift, the indoor training company. Now, they just raised an inordinate amount of money, $450 million, I think, to be precise, which values them at over $1 billion.
$1 billion?
Yeah, and some of that investment has come from Specialized Investment Division. In the press release, they say that this is the start of a strategic partnership between the global cycling giant, Specialized, and Zwift.
Interesting enough, but that press release also mentions that the investment will help Zwift bring their own hardware to market as well, which, well, intriguing stuff, isn't
Watch
it?
this space.
Yeah. Now also, actually, our own bit of Zwift news. You will very soon be able to get your hands on the new GCN Castelli kit on Zwift. Oh yes, there's a new update coming, and yeah, you will be able to wear the beautiful red. I'm going to be about 3 days later than everyone else, though.
Yeah, I think I've already received mine, actually. Something I haven't got, though, Si, is a muck-off pressure washer, much to my disappointment.
Brilliant.
I know you've got one. Ollie's still, of course, very disappointed as well. But somebody else is about to get their hands on a muck-off pressure washer because we're about to announce the very lucky winner of that giveaway. First up, they're in Germany. Ooh. To keep you hanging a bit longer, for those of you in Germany, drum roll please, Si. The winner is Colin Hydorn.
Oh.
So well done to you, Colin.
Yeah, we will be in touch via email, Colin, and well, sort out how we can send you your new pressure washer. Sorry, Dan, we're not going to be in touch via email about yours.
It is now time for Hack/Bodge of the week now. And first up, this from T-Bone David. Completely flat friendly turbo trainer setup. Started by connecting 2 bits of MDF, using foam jigsaw flooring it as well. All held together with duct tape and a couple of screws. However, after testing, I found that it was still quite noisy during gear changes, and so added some soundproofing too, and is now perfectly stable and quiet.
Whoa.
Happy neighbours.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's an important consideration to make, isn't it? Yeah, I got to say, fairly ingenious. The mention of duct tape obviously sort of has me sort of twitching over the bodge function. Yeah. But no, if it works.
He's also using that room for trombone recording now. So good is it? I'm going to say Hack. I think he's done a neat job there.
Yeah, I'd say Hack as well. Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Well, 94% of people went Hack, so that was a good choice by you, Si.
Right. Just watch you don't rust your radiator with all your sweat runoff. That's it.
That sounds like a man talking from experience.
Let's not go there. Right, next up, we got this one from Jay Kernbauer. Oh my word. Now there's a push bike I quite fancy. Just saw that on the street and I'm sure you can ride it, he says, because I've actually seen it twice already in different places. That's just amazing.
Doesn't look like it would be easy to ride, does it?
No, not easy in the slightest.
I mean, it once again
slow.
Reminds me of that Schwinn off eBay that I rode over in Alta Badia, but it was nowhere near as extreme as that.
No, and you were off and running for, was it a 5-kilometre climb?
It wasn't great for the climbs. I mean, neither am I, but the bike didn't help me much on that occasion.
That was a little bit like
surely.
Primoz Roglic, wasn't it? The Tour de France. You just, you could see the line, it was in sight and just agonisingly.
Just at the last moment, somebody overtook me. I think it was you, actually, wasn't it?
It was me, yeah.
Right, moving on. Actually, no, I'm going to go for Bodge. And
yeah, Bodge.
Yeah, 60% of people agreeing with us on that one side. Next up, Fair B Rob. I got criticised for not being able to sell Gravel Girl last week, so I'm trying to get them all right this week.
Rightly so.
Fair enough, yes. In a field of horses, spotted this along the shoreline in Cape May in New Jersey, USA. Chain might need some attention, but otherwise, looks like it would roll.
Yeah, I've got to say, I know one person that would absolutely love a unicorn bike. And so I think that would really fit the bill, to be honest with you. I'm not sure I could bring myself to do it to a bicycle.
As another cyclist on a different bike, you would not want to have a head-on collision with that one,
no,
would you?
You wouldn't. No, not at all. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Maybe it could just be a horse rather than a unicorn.
I was still going to go with Bodge. Just can't quite see the point yet.
I might say Hack, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go Hack.
More people going with me than with you, 60-40.
If it was a horse, it would definitely be a Hack.
I see what you did. You're on fire this week. A bit like the Cycling Science Twitter feed. So.
I know, brilliant, isn't it?
Next up, DT Engineer, perhaps not living up to his name. 1 minute DIY chain whip. I was about to be like Ron Burgundy again then and say DYI Anyway, just screw old chain or part of it onto the middle of a wood stick. Take note that screw should be thin and long to pass through the wood and have a little part on opposite side. Then apply chain into cassette and put the chain screw on the opposite side. And there you are, just installed and uninstalled my cassette today.
Wow, I'm intrigued to know how you're going to vote on this, Dan. As the architect of a do-it-yourself chain whip before that cost more than the Park Tool equivalent.
Yes, there is a GCN video out there of a homemade chain whip by yours truly on GCN, which, as Si pointed out, didn't cost much less. In fact, might have cost more than buying one from the shop. But regardless, that one was probably cheaper. So I'll say hack because he has managed to get his cassette off and back on again. Yeah.
I'm going to say bodge because it's just rubbish and you don't want to mess around with things like chain whips, I don't think. Right, we have this one coming in from JC Carlos Ferreira. Remember we talked about the delightful candle holder that was made out of someone's dad's old 105 cassette? Well, here is proof that it can make a romantic centerpiece to a dinner for two. Best dinner with my wife and special candle, Valentine's Day in the pandemic. So actually that's not been inspired by our previous entry. If that was Valentine's Day, that's of course months ago.
Your wife, Carlos, must have been almost overcome with emotion, I'd have thought, at your ability to combine romance with a cycling component on the table there. Yes, well, I think we gave our thoughts the last time we saw a candle shoved into a cassette, didn't we? So I'm going to say bodge.
Yeah, I think so too, especially because it's quite a nice sort of like petite table, and that's a really wide ratio cassette. At least go for a compact block, like maybe in a sort of an 11-speed Campagnolo Super Record cassette that
that we both have in our garages.
Yeah. So. Anyway, but yes, so I'm going to say bodge for that one.
Yeah, me too. Although we are in the minority, but only just. What? 49% bodge, 51% hack.
Crikey.
Lastly this week, we've got this one comes in from Annexon BGS. Zwift GCN race. I rode for GCN earlier and Zwift gave me the GTN jersey. 2020 is officially the worst year.
Yeah, tough roll of the dice,
I
that
mean,
one.
if you think Primoz Roglic has got it bad.
Yeah, but potentially you could have used that to your advantage, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, weren't you, in that race? So I hope you kind of just snuck off the front and
to everybody's amazement.
Didn't fall off. There we go. What are you going to give it? I'm going to say bodge.
Me too, yes, and 81% of people said bodge. As ever, next week's hacks and bodges are already up on the GCN app, ready for you to vote on. And make sure you submit your hacks and bodges ready for the following week's show.
It's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a much coveted GCN Elite water bottle there.
I don't know why I turned it around there. Yellow. The logo's exactly the same on the other side. I thought it was slightly different. More fool me.
Yeah, anyway, here is the photo that we gave you last week. So we will start as ever with the results. Dan, who had the best caption last week?
The best caption came from Marcus Riches, who put, masks are a vital precaution in these times. Don't know why I said it like that. Masks are a vital precaution in these times. I don't know what I'm doing, really. But anyway, it read well. It wasn't read out so well, unfortunately. But well done, Marcus. Send us your address on Facebook as a message and we'll get that out to you.
I don't think you've ever butchered a caption quite so.
Only my own,
Vital.
of course.
No, vital. Anyway, there we go. Right, go on then. You've got a cracker now. This photo.
Don't jump your guns. Don't jump the gun, should I say. So this is, of course, Tadej Pogacar's left mitt, giving a thumbs up on the Champs-Élysées after winning the Tour de France. I'll get you started with taxi.
Genius.
Yeah.
Well done, mate.
I was thinking something about yellow cab, but I just went with the simple one. Anyway, let us know your captions in the comment section down below, and one of you will win a GCN Elite water bottle next week. We've got a lot of comments to read out this week. There's so many good ones, and we didn't want to whittle it down too far. First up, underneath Connor's attempt at 555 kilometres, Blair Easton wrote, between Connor and Manon, Ireland and Wales tourism should also be paying GCN. The scenery was phenomenal, as was Connor's efforts. Well, if you'd like to write them for us, that'd be much appreciated. Whilst David S. Clapp said, I thought the race was called the Dun Eagle, after Connor.
Yeah, that would have been good, wouldn't it?
See what you did there.
Maybe if he can finish, then next year it might be. But yeah.
I was going to say, saying Connor's effort was phenomenal. I mean,
it was.
At least Hank finishes his challenges.
I tell you what.
Not that I could do this, of course.
Next year we should have a race, Connor versus Hank, around the Donegal 555.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See who finishes.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. Right. Next up, under the top 10 best things, about cycling. This one made me chuckle. This is from Ian Iturralde. Right as it flashed, save money, I started snort chuckling. And yeah, it's true, actually. Although cycling can save you money, it can also be like a drain on your back pocket.
It can be. It can be, yes. Meanwhile, there was a theme going on with the comments underneath the video about how hard the Tour de France can be. Frank Maycutt, okay, that's seriously all I can take of Ollie's hair. Christian, Christ, Ollie, that hair is not aero. Kyle, that piece of hair dangling at the back is a feat in itself. Tim, Ollie's hair is possessed by the spirit of an angry rooster. And Scott, I like Ollie's dedication, with a segment so focused on sleep and rest, he went the extra mile and did it all with a magnificent display of bedhead. I mean, that was just a small selection.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Right, under Hank's magnificent effort of trying to train like a pro whilst working like average Joe, we got this cracking one from Rally King 13. I feel like this video gives me a legitimate excuse for not being an elite athlete. And yeah, it does show that, well, you can't, basically, doesn't it? And then Katie L, the most amazing thing about this video is that GCN has finally found a sufferfest Hank can't complete.
Yeah, it took a while for us to crack him, didn't it?
It did, yeah. And well, we had to witness it every morning as the poor lad joined our morning virtual meetings, having already been training for 4 hours.
We had to have a quiet word with him because his work wasn't really up to scratch either.
No, it was disgraceful, wasn't it? But, anyway.
Right, let's inform you now as to what's coming up on the channel over the next week. On Wednesday, it's how to lock your bike up in town. Although presumably there will be some tips in there, Si, for people that want to lock it up in the countryside too.
Well, I just don't know, Dan. I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for that.
Anyway, that is a must watch because obviously bike theft is huge in towns and cities, isn't it? Particularly in the UK, so you want to do it right.
Yeah, and if anyone's ever had a bike nick, it's just horrible.
It is horrible,
isn't it? Yeah.
I'm not going to say when I last had a bike nick because that might be...
touch wood.
Yes, right. On Thursday, the 6 craziest bike routes, and on Friday, right tyre, wrong tyre. All about making the right choice, of course.
Yeah. I tell you what, I had cracking good fun filming that. I hope the video is half as good as my day was. But yeah, some really interesting stuff on that, really interesting stuff. On Saturday, we have got exclusive insider footage of an Everesting world record attempt. Now, I say attempt, I don't know whether he's done it yet because he hasn't actually started. So I'm on the edge of my seat for that one. Yeah, fingers crossed. And then on Sunday, we check out Old Durace versus Modern 105. What are the differences, if any? So I'm fascinated by that. Ollie was the one lucky enough to do it, so I can't wait to watch his video.
And in terms of racing, well, it comes thick and fast this season, as you all know. So we've got the World Championships this week, followed by the Giro d'Italia starting a week on Saturday. Unfortunately, our rights are quite restricted for the World Championships, so you do need to make sure it's available where you are. Small number of countries for that. But in all race pass territories, we will have a breakaway show coming on a Sunday evening after the men's race, where we'll be discussing both the men's and, of course, the women's race from the day before. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's GCN show, but as you can now see, Si has stripped off, revealing his core t-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, I just so you know, this is currently in the GCN shop. You can get it in loads of different colours, and I really like it, mate. I think I like the subtlety of this.
There's a distinct lack of ironing, as per usual, and the end of your left sleeve is not looking very good either, but it would look far better on any of you at home who choose to purchase it. Available over on the GCN shop, shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, of course.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching this week's GCN show, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.